Welcome back. You're tuned into Bazaar Morning Call here on CNBC-TV18. Well, the gift nifty today is suggesting a start as flat as can be. After a couple of days of big moves, maybe today we'll get a flattish start. Deven Choksey, director at KRChoksey Group, joins us on the show. Hi, Deven. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, we've got a lot of stocks to discuss with you. So let's start off with Vedanta. Now, the parent Vedanta Resources has got some relief because that Zambian copper mine, it comes back into their fold. So it makes them more capable of taking care of the debt in their books. Vedanta Limited obviously will get a bit of a positive rub-off. How do you view the stock? Vedanta Limited has been a rank underperformer because of the promoter concerns and the debt on the promoter's books as well. Your view on the stock at around this 240 rupees?
Hi, Nigel. Good morning. Well, I think each and every vertical that Vedanta has in their portfolio has a distinctly strong proposition as far as I think their outlook is concerned. And they continue to do well, be it the steel vertical, iron or mining vertical, or even for that matter, oil and gas, aluminium. In each of these particular areas of activity, the company has remained, I think, extremely strong as far as I think their business outlook remains, business outlook is concerned. I think you are right. The major problem has been, I think, the promoters' issues, I think, where probably the market is not so very confident about the company's promoters and I think the kind of practices that has been undertaken from time to time. And that is one of the reasons for which the stock has just come down. However, given the fact that we are seeing the better outlook for the metal commodities in particular, I would like to think that I think majority of the metal, ferrous and non-ferrous both included, I think are likely to perform well, and so would be catch up for Vedanta. So certainly at the current price, maybe I think all the negatives seems to have discounted into the price. And maybe I think given the kind of outlook that we carry for the metal sector per se, I believe that we are in a cyclical uptrend as far as metal is concerned. And that's where probably it makes a claim for companies like Vedanta to catch up with the price in which they have lost in the last few months.
Deven, hi, good morning. I wanted your thoughts on Voltas because, Motilal Oswal has reinitiated the coverage on that company. And they talk about how, despite being a market leader, I mean, there's been severe underperformance that the stock has seen, right? I mean, you just pull up Voltas in the last 1 year, while the market, the mid-cap index is up 25%, the Voltas stock is down about 13%. Do you think this underperformance will finally end? And what are your thoughts on the stock?
Good morning, Sonia. Well, FMEG sector particularly, I think, remains, I think, the beneficiary of the discretionary spending that the consumer is having, the power consumer is having in his hand. So from a perspective of looking at the entire space, I think it looks, I think, really convincing to see this, some of these companies registering higher amount of growth. Companies like Voltas, companies like Blue Star, they remain relatively, I think, strong proposition. And we believe that once this particular festive season starts and subsequently thereafter, they are likely to see the better amount of demand generation happening. And that's where probably I think these companies will have relatively better growth numbers to talk about. Fortunately, metal prices are under control, and as a result of which it promises to have stable margins also at the same time. Given that situation, I think the company like Voltas and Blue Star, I think we believe are likely to register relatively better performance on the market. Fortunately, I think these companies have had, I think, some amount of price correction in the previous months. So to a certain extent, I think we are likely to see the better outlook on the price as well and the appreciation to investors.
Deven, hi, morning. Any thoughts on Raymond? Which saw that big move. I mean, recently over the last 2-3 weeks, I think there were two sort of sell-side broker initiations. I think Jeffries and one more, and I saw another one, Incred, or some a week or 2 weeks back. Lots of interest here, at least from the sell side. I mean, actually, if you take a slightly longer view, it's not as if it's done. I mean, it had people waiting for a long time, at least the longer-term investors. But now it started to run up and do very well. Raymond, your thoughts on this one, if you track it and if you have coverage?
So we don't have the full coverage on this company, but we are tracking the developments happening in the business of the company. And we believe that I think the corrective strategies employed by them in respective areas, including real estate, including in the branded products and of course, I think the mainstay business. I think the corrective strategies that they have implemented, their promise is to do relatively better than what they were up till now. I guess I think the company has suffered maximum in previous years, which I believe I think they are promising to overcome this particular situation. So from that perspective, directionally, the outlook remains promising. But since we don't have the full coverage, I would refrain from putting across any specific view on the valuations of the company.
Okay, all right. I wanted your thoughts also on some of these, mid-cap IT names that have been doing very well, especially the Science of the world. There is, persistent emphasis. Even the large-cap guys, HCL Tech. From that entire pack, what do you like?
So we believe, I think some of the mid-cap companies operating in their niche play, and companies like LTTS, companies like L&T Mindtree, even for that matter, Tata Elxsi, though strictly you can't be calling them as a mid-cap. I think they are largely now, I think, in the area of the large caps, I think, as I would call them as. So I think these companies remain absolutely, even science technology, which you mentioned, they remain very promising as far as I think the niche area of operation is concerned. And we continue to have coverage, and we continue to have liking for these particular companies in portfolio. In the previous months, and due to whatever the I think concerns about the IT as a whole, some of these companies were available at a price advantage, I think, to investor. Today, I think this particular price advantage has slightly gone away because I think the prices have appreciated. But in my viewpoint, I think in a corrective market, I think these companies remains promising from investment point of view. Each of the companies are having different distinct strategies, which is what is more appealing in this mid-cap space. And that is where we find that I think some of these companies which I mentioned remains relatively more comfortable for investment in the portfolio.